to The Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
Yeah, that's right. This is The Changing Stage radio show powered by the mighty Enter Talk Radio Network. This is the worldwide leader in music biz talk and, of course, the voice that kind of powers this industry. And we want to give a big shout out to our incredible sponsors, Pitbull Audio at pitbullaudio.com. These guys just are the best. They basically don't want you to let it go. Never let go, because this passion for music is a huge part of why we do what we do. Of course, people who've been doing it for a long time are good friends over at SIR-USA.com. Good friends James and the guys here in San Diego really take care of us when we do our shows and all of our special events. They provide all the backline. They also do corporate events as well, so make sure you take care of them. And then one of our new shows is actually a good partner of ours, Showslinger, where Showslinger helps bands get booked, and that's going to be a big part of what's going on around here, because we want to help power the music industry. And, that comes to our guest here today, Mr. Paul Shedden from Mission Engineering. Paul, are you there?
Yes, I am, Florentino. How you doing?
Hey, thank you very much for Skyping in. That's always cool to kind of do that, the Skype thing, because it gives a little bit more of the ambiance of what's going on over there. So, we chatted a little bit before the show kicked off. And, let's kind of just start off from the get-go. How'd you get started in wanting to be in music? Because you are the president and the marketing guru for Mission Engineering, which makes an incredible line of pedals, amps, and all kinds of assortments of guitar playing gear. So let's just kind of start from the beginning. How did Paul get the bug for music?
A good question. Actually, before we start, can I just say a big thank you to all the veterans around the world for their service and sacrifice?
And you're right. I should remember that. That is a big part of why we have the freedom to do this and be able to broadcast internationally. So yeah, that is huge. And anytime someone makes a sacrifice, especially if they're putting their life on the line, that is, there's no greater gift. So
no, absolutely. So I felt I should say that. And just as a forewarning, we moved property to a building twice the size last week. We're still unpacking, and believe it or not, I don't even have a door on my office at the moment. So hopefully there'll be no noises that interrupt the show, etc.
No worries, man. This is all just hanging out. What we like to do is we really like that people can get behind the scenes with us. We try to show, not the typical, front surface of everything, but what is the things that power it? What is the grit? And that's what our network's all about. Keeping it real.
Yeah, excellent. Well, to answer your question, me personally, I got into music when I was 15 years of age. I'm 55 now, it's true, where does time go? When a friend of mine introduced me to Queen. He basically said, hey, they're playing at the Alexandra Palace in London. It's a turn of the century Victorian glass-built huge structure that was kind of there for exhibitions. And I said, who are they, kind of thing, because before they blew up. And we went along, and I still remember it like it was yesterday. We were in this not a huge room, but probably 300 to 500 people. There's a circular stage just big enough to fit the band on. There were no kind of barriers or anything because they hadn't blown up yet. And I'm probably 4 or 5 feet away from Freddie.
Wow.
And I was hooked, and I was kind of like sitting in my bedroom as a teenager with my headphones on, all their albums, singing away, wailing away. and that was it. That got me into music. I formed a band. We played around schools, and we did some charity events and what have you. And I could tell you all kinds of stories that will probably go off track, but like, for example, inspiring George Michael to get into the music business because we were, from Wham, etc.
Yeah.
played at his school, and our drummer went to his school. And at the end of the first time we played in front of the school, he came up to us. It was he was doing Mother Goose in one of the plays, and said, "Hey, what's being a band?" And I went, "Well, you should give it a go." And of course, he did.
Yeah.
And he was very successful.
Just a little bit of a go, right?
Yeah, just a bit of a go. Yeah, far more successful than I was. So anyway, that got me into the whole loving music. Then I set up a record label.
Before we get into that, I want to kind of explore a little bit. What kind of music were you doing at that time? Because you mentioned you had seen Queen, and obviously that was theatrical rock, for lack of a better word. And then all of a sudden you've got this guy who's a pop centric idol. What was the music that you found in that collection of characters that you were hanging out with at that time?
Ironically, or I'm not sure ironically is the right word, but we just knew we could never be another Queen. There's only one Queen, right?
Yeah.
So we didn't even try. We thought we don't want to embarrass ourselves. And of course, I was a child of the 80s, so like Duran Duran, those kind of.
I was with you, man. I'm 50, so I'm just right there in that same pocket.
Yeah, so that's what I grew up on, Spandau Ballet, that. So we wrote those kind of 80s pop songs. That's what we were kind of into.
Okay. Because you got your picture. You definitely got the kind of the tough guy, almost kind of like almost metal kind of flavor now.
Yeah, I've had that hair. See, there's another story. So I got into rockabilly. Can you believe that? Elvis Presley and rockabilly. When there's a big revival in the UK when I was about 20.
It was all part of the new romantic new wave movement at that point. It's kind of an offshoot of the whole punk thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I was literally, I had my little thin, tie, the jacket, my hair swept back. So I've always had hair kind of up high on my head.
Isn't it amazing that that's the look now after all these years?
Yeah, although now I haven't got so much of it, so I just have to kind of spike it in the air, and that's about as much as I can get away with.
I'm just talking about the kids, I just amazing going around and the skinny ties from back in those days, and that whole look and a little bit of that rockabilly. Yeah, it's definitely come back around.
Mods, rockabillys, it was crazy. I mean, I was in actually in a newspaper, Camden Lock. It's a famous place in London, which is kind of really the in place to go and hang out back then anyway, probably still is now. And I used to go to all these 24-hour rock around the clock kind of things to commemorate. And even then, bearing in mind it was reinvented the second time round, the rivalry between mods and rockabillys and even Teds, etc. It was crazy. We're all into a very similar kind of vein of music, but there was some definite rivalry, hostility between the factions, which is a bit of a shame. But other than that, I loved the scene. It was really good fun. Yeah,
that was kind of I guess it was chronicled for the earlier era with the movie Absolute Beginners, if I remember rightly. They had that was with David Bowie and Sade, first movie. Well, I think it's the only movie role that I've ever seen her in. And then they had a bunch of other different. Patsy Kinsett was in that, and they were talking about how I think that was a little bit more towards the 60s, but I think a lot of that kind of carried over into that era in the 80s. So it's pretty amazing time. And I would have loved to be where you were at in London, because that's where everything was exploding.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely lucky. And looking back now, I didn't realise at the time it was just normal. It's like, everyone does, isn't it? But, look back now and, very fortunate. So anyway, that got me into music. And then a good friend of mine, my business partner and CEO, James, moved to America 12, 14 years ago with Intel. And long story short, I came over pretty much every year with my wife, visiting him. And out of the blue, one year back in, I think it was 2006 or 7, he built a pedal, just one-off pedal, for the lead guitarist in a worship band in the church that he also performed in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
And the lead guitarist basically put out some internet stuff and just said, "Hey, my buddy's built me this pedal. It's amazing. Really happy with it." And then only in America, I don't think this happens anywhere else in the world, people started contacting saying, "Hey, would you build me one?" James said, "Sure." And then next thing you know, he's building pedals in his garage. And that's where the company was born.
What was the pedal that he built?
It was a one-off expression pedal. So that's where Mission Engineering started and where we're probably best known for. Back then, James had to use off-the-shelf parts. But he's because of his background, to give you an idea, he was part of the team that invented voice recognition. When you speak into your phone, it understands you.
Oh, okay. Was that a college thing, or was he at Dragon?
Yeah, when he was at Intel, so he actually came up with the telecommunication industry. Okay. So he's just a very clever guy. So he basically took his time. He didn't rush it. It took him a few months trying different chassis and potentiometers and what have you to come back with a pedal. But, he just gave it to him and he was happy. He won't release anything. And that's an important part, actually, of Mission Engineering. We don't release anything unless we're 100% happy with it. And that ethos is pretty much from the day it started to today. So it was an expression pedal, and he basically loved it. And you could argue, to some extent, thanks to JR, we're kind of hearing him putting out those internet comments. We have people like Lincoln Brewster came on board pretty early on.
Okay, yeah, that's another Christian. I guess he's doing a lot with the Christian music scene, because Lincoln's from my old hometown in Roseville, but up in Sacramento area.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. So, it was never meant to be a business. But then the nice thing about that was in 2009, when pedal numbers that James was building at home basically got to a point where he felt he couldn't continue to build them at home. He needed to move into his first commercial premises and said, well, to do that, I've got to do something to expand numbers. It's too risky otherwise. He basically picked up the phone to me and said, hey, would you mind coming out to the US and coming to this small event called NAMM?
Yeah.
How huge it was.
Talk about sensory overload, right? That's gonna.
Yeah, absolutely. Like 96,000 people go through that event right in LA in 3 days or whatever. So it was crazy.
Actually, it's 101 now. I think last year was 101. Yeah, it was the biggest, or maybe more than that. Maybe 103. It's all becoming a blur now. But they were definitely the biggest year last year ever for attendance.
Yeah, it certainly felt like it from our point of view with the booth. I mean, we've been going 7 years now. The first three or four as just delegates, and then the last three as with the booth. And we're here again in January coming up. So I said yes, basically. I said, yeah, of course. Long-standing friend, known James 30 odd years. And we had a blast. We basically, when I saw Line 6, when I saw them, back then they were appointments only. So I had to blag our way in 3 times before we actually met a person who said, look, hey, let's meet up after NAMM. And we were invited to go down to their head office, and we did all that. And great people. When you consider it was James and myself and a couple of guys just building, small production numbers. Again, only in America, right? If I'd approached a UK company with this kind of whole, can we work with you? And this is who we are. They just would have gone, yeah, right. We can't deal with something that small. But Line 6 just turned around and said, absolutely. It turns out that we're not that enamored with our own expression pedal. We get quite a few customer complaints about it. And quite frankly, we'd like to get rid of the customer care calls on this. So this is perfect timing. So we did a co-branded pedal with them. We've kept in touch with them. We've done a few things with them over the years. And recently we did a product specific for the Helix, which has been a huge success for them, and rightly so. It's an amazing piece of gear. And long story short, they're now actually selling our pedals for the Helix and for the Line 6 range, in fact, on their web store. So, from a little acorn at NAMM back in 2009, we've now finally progressed to the point where we're getting good support from those guys because they recognise it as, the best expression pedal on the market. And obviously, I guess that's good for all of us.
Yeah. That's definitely what we've gotten over here, especially with our good partner at Pitbull Audio. They're a huge supporter of you guys, and they found that people time and time again say this is the best expression pedal they've ever used. So I give you guys accolades on that for sure. And
I should have said, actually, that wasn't me speaking. That is people. I mean, I'm not that kind of a person. I mean, oh man, I don't have. I could spend the entire show trying to explain what I'm like as an individual. I have to believe in the products that I'm dealing with to even begin to recommend or sell, if you want to call it that. And obviously, very proud of what we do here, because we do put a lot of time and effort into everything we do. So, we involve the whole staff around, we sit around the table on a Monday and we talk about new product ideas and what's missing from products already out there to do something similar but not good enough, what frustrates guitarists, because we're all guitarists here, so I use that term loosely for myself, but other than that, so we kind of understand what frustrates guitarists, and we try to always have that in mind. So it's never about, and it gets us into trouble sometimes, it's never about the profit. Especially when you make things in California, because it's probably the most expensive place in the world to build stuff.
We're with you, man. It's not cheap to have a radio network either.
So we're on the same page there, totally. So, but we first and foremost want to build a product that we want to use ourselves and we can be proud of. So, little things like the fact that every pedal that ships is checked twice, not once but twice, independently, to make sure it's set up properly, it's working 100% correctly. As a result, we've had something like 26 pedals back in 7 years, which is...
That's amazing. That's amazing. Low return rate.
61% of our pedals back, because we don't want the end user, to do all this research like you do this day and age, and you go on the internet, you check out all the different pedals, and then you right, I'm excited, I'm going to get this pedal, and you pay your money and you wait for it to turn off, you go to the store or whatever, and it doesn't work. That happened to me and the people here at Mission so many times. We went, right, that's the first thing we need to fix. We don't want people to experience that. And that's the best thing we could have ever decided to do, because it's actually... It's our press. We can't afford actually press. If you've ever, if your viewers.
Hey, Paul, I hate to cut you short here. We got about 15 seconds left in this segment. So I want to get people prepped, because I want you all to stay tuned, because this is a great story about a company that really cares about delivering the kind of tools and the kind of gear that wants to power the industry. So stay tuned. This has been the Changing Stage Radio Show, powered by the mighty EnterTalk Radio Networks, the voice of the music biz, and really your go-to source to get information about cool companies like Mission Engineering and Pitbull Audio. Make sure you stay tuned. We'll be right back in a few short minutes.
Serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time, or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on EnterTalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Hey, it's Tracy Smith
and Beth Venus
of Girls Talk Rock right here on the EnterTalk Radio Network.
Every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific.
Okay, Beth, they know that, but we want you to know that the industry pro's choice is Silver Tiger Production.
STP is a full-service production agency offering sound, lighting, installations, talent buying, staffing, backline equipment rental, and sales. Kapow!
It's everything in the entertainment performance industry. It's all that. SilverTigerProduction.com.
Welcome to the Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
Do I hear a second segment of the Changing Stage radio show? Yes, I do. This is my Florentino Buenaventura. I was going to say this is my name, but and I'm with the Changing Stage radio show, powered by the mighty Intertalk Radio Network, the voice of the music business and the worldwide leader in music business talk. And there's a huge collection of shows that are on our network, and I want everybody to kind of be aware that we've got on Mondays we've got Jackie Bertoni's Jackie's Groove, which is all about all his friends and players in the business, and Jackie's been a pretty, influential player in the industry with Tower of Power, the Eagles, CNC Music Factory. So he's played with a wide range of people, and he brings a lot of his good friends on, even some of the major players like Al Jarreau, Al Green. Al Di Meola, any of these Al. So we've got that. We've got our good friend Tim Dolbear with Sound Experience, and that show's all about studio work. Then again, we got Jackie again on Wednesdays. And on Wednesdays with Jackie, he brings back around a number of other his friends, and we've got Terry Woolman and J.R. Robinson with their shows. We just had a couple of great guests. We just had David Page from Toto on last week. So we've got a good collection of shows, and we got even shows for women in the music business like Girls Talk Rock. And then we are to later on this afternoon, we've got our good friend Scott Robertson, who does May the Best Brand Win. Scott was the NAMM marketing guru for many, many years and started his own firm, and he gives tips and tricks on how to keep a relevant marketing campaign going for your band or for your company. And then last but not least, we've got a new show starting on Tuesday of next week, and it's called Going to Get Loud by another Paul Nicholas with Show Slinger. So we've got a number of shows, and of course our last show that we had you on, Mr. Paul Shedden, was Sharpen the Axe, and we talked a lot about your product, and I would like people to go back and re-listen to that episode because Eric and another Paul, my partner Paul, really went in depth on demonstration of the features, and there's a how to, and it's even on our Facebook page there is some stuff on how to kind of use the pedals, but right now we want to talk a bit about your quality. You left off with where you were with quality, and then this transition to what the products are.
Yeah, so I was just under quality. I mean, just finish off that point. So best decision we ever made, because we can't afford, or couldn't afford, probably still can't afford, to do advertising in guitar magazines, etc. But that attention to detail and quality did the advertising for us. Word spread on the internet. People, started contacting us. Amazing artists, etc. Just off the back of the fact we were putting out a quality product, and we were putting our hearts and souls into designing and building these things. So actually the best decision we ever made to concentrate on quality. It was the right thing to do, but it actually turned out to be the thing that's kind of pushed us forward as a business.
Yeah, and as you mentioned before, you had this, this quality focus of this expression pedals, and so let's start there. Tell us what goes into the creation of the expression pedals, and how does that translate to the whole product line?
Yeah. Okay. So the first thing that you have to consider, we felt when we designed the expression pedals, was the sweep. Obviously, expression pedals connected to a device are controlling many parameters. They might be controlling volume, in which case you want a bigger sweep. They might be controlling or emulating a wah or a whammy, in which case you want a smaller sweep. And therefore it has to be like a jack of all trades. It has to be a chassis that can accommodate any one of those controls. So we designed the chassis firstly somewhere bigger than something like a Dunlop wah throw, obviously considerably less than an early ball kind of a typical throw, because that would be way too much for controlling things like reverbs and wahs and whammies.
Yeah.
And we think we got it right. Certainly early on, we did get some people saying, I'm so used to my early ball, whichever volume pedal they're using, the sweep's not big enough. But, once you get used to a smaller sweep, you can be just as controlled with it. And then all round, it gave us a pedal that would control all those different parameters and be usable. It's usable basically across all those things. The next thing that we had to get right was the feel of it. If you stand on any device but a pedal and you control it, a bit like an Apple device, they're just intuitive, they just feel right. We build that into our pedals. We go, well, okay, it's linear. That's a term that maybe people aren't familiar with or are familiar in terms of the curve. So it kind of increases proportionally as you go from heel to toe down, is what most people expect from a control pedal. But the way that the human ear actually hears the changes that's actually going on, whether you're controlling reverbs or volumes or whatever, it's actually tricked into thinking if you actually hear true linear, it actually doesn't sound right. It feels like actually the effect comes on far too quick to start with, and then it seems to take forever to get to maximum saturation. That's because of the way our ears interpret sound. So we actually tune our potentiometers, which is the key to any expression pedal, in such a way that it feels linear to what the brain's expecting. I hope it's making some sense.
Yeah, no, definitely, because sometimes things are counterintuitive, and the fact that like you said, it goes and it feels the way the brain wants it to feel is a really, really, I think that's an amazing way to look at it.
Yeah, it needs to be predictable. If you're performing on stage, there's enough pressures on you already without having to go, hey, I have to remember how to use this pedal slightly different than I'd like to be able to use it to get the effects I'm looking for. So we spent a lot of time actually tuning the potentiometer so that as it turns and goes through its cycle, it just feels right. So that's the feedback we get. People agree with that. The next thing we did was we made it completely air and water tight. A lot of potentiometers out there are open and can get dust, etc., and then you end up with scratchy pots. And then the next thing we said was, okay, well, when the potentiometer turns inside its casing, it goes from obviously sending out zero voltage through to its maximum. So we do different size potentiometers depending on what it's talking to. Anything from 10, 25, I think we do a 100k pot, a 250k pot, because it's why we have so many different SKUs, because we are literally designing for all these different pieces of gear out there on the marketplace. It's very, very important, I can't stress this enough, that you get exactly one full rotation of the pot. If it doesn't go a full rotation, it means you're never going to get to a full saturation of reverb, delays, whatever it is you're trying to control. And if it overclocks, if it turns more than once, you actually start getting dead spots where nothing happens in a certain part of the pedal. So we actually designed the mechanics of the actual physical pedal itself, the chassis, to interact with the potentiometer so you get exactly one rotation, no more, no less. Now, when I say that, it's within 10% tolerance, because you can't ever get exactly 0 to 10. Say if it's a 10K pot, it'll end up as 0 to 9.5 or 9.6. Occasionally we get a perfect 10, which actually is quite funny. We normally call people around that point and go, hey, we've got a perfect 10 here. Because it's just the way the things interact between the actual pot itself and the mechanics of the pedal. Getting exact 10 is almost impossible. But the devices they're connected to, it doesn't matter. The difference to the gain, the human ear, between 96% saturation of a reverb, a delay, or whatever you're controlling, to 100%, you won't hear it.
Yeah. That's
Be happy with that. Within a 10% tolerance, we'll accept it when we're setting the pedals up.
Yeah.
So all those things combined, it was very important, silly little things like one of the complaints that JR had in the church band I was talking about right at the very beginning was that the pedal he had was made of plastic and it kept slipping away from him under his foot. So every time he went to stood on it, it was 2 feet further in front of him.
Yeah.
across the stage after it. So we build ours out of like a zinc alloy. So they're around about 3.5 to 4 pounds in weight, which is not so great for the traveling musician, but we do now have an aluminium version of a chassis that's way lighter, 1.7 pounds. But the thing stays still, so you can stand on it all day long. We had comments early on like bomb-proof, and so that's probably the key ingredients. First of all, how much the sweep, so it could be used for multiple purposes. How did the mechanics of the pedal interact with the potentiometer? And then how did that potentiometer actually deliver a predictable sweep so that you felt in control of whatever it is you were connecting to? They were all the things that kind of went into the early designs. I say, first of all, they were off-the-shelf parts, so we only got close to where we want it to be. Of course, now we design all our own stuff, so we got it working the way we want it to.
Yeah, and I think that is, I think all the points that you're making there go back to the initial, focus that if it's gonna, if it's not what you would want it to be, and if it's not at the highest level of quality where you have minimal returns, then, why do it? And I think
exactly that. And so then we work quite closely with the Fractal Forum early on, developing a pedal for them. Our EP1, in fact, is really off the back of collaboration with all those guys. They said to us, can't we have it in multiple colours? So we kind of scratched our heads and went, well, I can't see any reason why not, apart from the cost of holding those chassis in stock. So, yeah, let's offer different colours. They said, well, what about a spring return so that it goes to hill position so we can use auto engage? We went, yeah, we could probably do that. And so anyway, backwards and forwards, and eventually we came up with things like LED options, and we had toe switch options for turning things on and off. So we didn't just settle for the original basic expression pedal. We kind of went on to develop it to be as much use as possible for the guitarist.
That is awesome. Now, obviously, in the beginning, when JR was making the pedals early on, he would take some feedback. Do you guys work a lot with your client base to refine and redesign some of the functionality and features and just the quality parts that you put in there?
Yeah, we are totally open to ideas and suggestions. And whenever we get them, which is, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, we'll get someone ring up and say, hey, have you thought about X? And we'll kind of go, no, we haven't thought about X. So we'll literally sit down the next team meeting and go, look, we had a call in. They said, how about doing whatever the thing is? And we'll discuss it. I mean, a lot of the times it turns out not to be practical because of the cost of building it. No one's going to pay $1,000 for a foot control pedal of some description because of what we have to put into it. So we have to be, there are limits that make us go, it's just not going to work.
I think Freddie would pay $1,000 to have what he wants.
Yeah, and we'd probably do it for him as well. Although, actually joking apart, there's certain restrictions that we can't do. For example, making a cast to actually build the chassis that the pedals are obviously built into. Costs tens of thousands of dollars, and therefore we can't just on a whim just have a new chassis, a new cast made.
Yeah, makes sense.
But within reason, we're always open to ideas that people have, and if we can do it, we'll definitely consider it.
Yeah, and like I said, I think that was one of the things I got out of the initial interview you had with our guys Eric and Paul over at Sharpen the Axe, is that you really are open to hearing a lot of what people have to say. We've got about 3.5 minutes in this segment. We went really fast. Let's cover some of the other pieces of gear that you've put that same type of heart, spirit, and passion into. Well, you've got amps and you've got some other cool goodies. Tell us a little bit. Let's start off with the amps. I think that would be very fun.
3.5 minutes. I'm going to have to rattle through because we just do so much. So yeah, the amps. I'm always excited to talk about those. There's nothing like them on the marketplace. They have USB connectivity, Bluetooth connectivity if you want it, so that you can interact with your favorite DAW like Pro Tools or Logic or whatever, and record to and from the amps. They're full range flat response, and that's important if you're working with modelers like the Helix, the 11 rack, Fractal, Kemper, because all the engineers that have spent time reproducing faithfully the sounds of or emulating amps, etc. out there, they require nothing to be added in terms of colour by another amp. I would like to use the example that if you took a Marshall emulation, you played it through a Fender amp, what on earth would it sound like? Yeah. So you need something like a PA system, but then who wants a PA system on stage? It doesn't look right to give you that full range and flat response. So they have that. But the key feature to them, and is something we call the M-Power knob. It's a single knob on the back of the amp that allows you to dial in anywhere from full range flat response right the way back to regular guitar cab frequencies. So depending on your application, you can tune it the way you want it. We had a great review done by guitar player Brian Turner. Did a review. He uses a Kemper live in his band, and he said that was life-changing for him because he would spend hours and hours and hours and hours tweaking his presets in the studio, getting just the way he wanted them. He'd have to go live, and depending on the size of the room, the number of people in it, he'd then have to tweak all those same things to make it sound right live. With the M-Power knob, he said literally in 10 seconds, he could just turn the knob up and down to get the right amount of brightness, if you like, range, and he didn't have to touch the presets in his Kemper. Got back to the studio, put it back where it belonged, and he was good to go again. So that's probably the most key feature in there. And then they do things like they chain together, they auto-detect stereo, they auto-detect 110 to 240 voltage. You know, we thought of every feature we possibly could for these things, and most importantly, they look like a traditional kind of tube amp look, so you can feel comfortable having it next to you on stage. And the drivers have an 87% dispersion rate, which means that you don't have to stand directly in front of it to appreciate and hear what's coming out of your amp. You can stand to the side, you still get to hear it fully. And of course, if you mic it up, because we put the tweeter in front of the woofer, it behaves just like a regular tube amp, brighter towards the center, a bit sort of duller towards the outside. So we really did try and think again of all the different ways this thing was going to be used, and what could we do to help the guitarist, in all
to come up with their flavor and sound style. Hey, we are going to be kicking into this next little break here, so bear with us, folks. We'll continue on with some products in the third segment there, Paul. This has been the Changing Stage Radio Show, powered by the voice of the music business, Enter Talk Radio, and we are going to be coming back again thanks to Pitbull Audio, who is a big supporter of Mission Engineering Products. Stay tuned. We've got one more segment with Paul Shedden.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Girls are talking rock again.
And people are listening.
Today we're talking bands.
Let's talk promotion. Red Giant promo, graphics, EPKs, video, photos, social media, and brand building using content marketing.
But let's talk studio at CCMA, which is events, rehearsal, tour prep, piano, guitar, voice, rock band, lessons, workshops, and clinics. Yeah!
Both proud sponsors of Girls Talk Rock.
Well, get the lowdown on these services and contact me, Tracy, at girlstalkrock.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al DiMeola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Welcome to the Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
Let's get ready to rumble. My announcer always makes me think I'm gonna go into a boxing match with that one. This is the Changing Stage radio show powered by the Mighty Talk Radio Network, the voice of the music business. My name is Florentino. I know that because I just heard that in the intro. And we've been talking with Paul Shedden of Mission Engineering. And I just want to give a shout out again to Pitbull Audio for carrying this wonderful collection of products by this amazing company that's got a heart for the musicians. And we've been talking about a few of those products. We just were talking about the amps, and you've got a few different versions of the amps, right?
Absolutely. We do a regular mono version. We do a stereo. It's true stereo. And again, because of the dispersion rate, if you close your eyes, even though the drivers are only probably 4 inches apart, they sound like they're maybe 5 or 6 feet apart, which is pretty cool. We do a wedge version so that you can, which actually stands up, so it converts either from a monitor into a forward-facing version of the Gemini. And a big announcement for NAMM is that we're bringing out a 5,000 watt head unit.
Wow.
Which is crazy, right? No, who wants 5,000 watts? But believe it or not, we get so many requests for more power, more power, more power. We just went, right, give the people what they want. So this thing's 5,000 watts, and you can EQ it, you can have it flat, you can. I can't go into too much detail. Obviously, we'll be announcing it officially at NAMM, but that's coming basically.
We'll be at NAMM too, and you'll be good. You'll be lucky if you could get out of the building with that one when we go there. We got too many guitar players that work with us, man. So we do that. We do passive ones. We just brought out one for the Kemper that looks like a 4x12. It's a cut down version, so it's not as heavy. It's only a 2x12 in effect. For those that have already power amps and they want to put something, use their modeler but through their power head into a house. We're expanding that range again with the guitarist very much in mind, and the gear that's out there now, and what needs to work with it, and what features are needed and that kind of thing. So that's the amps. We moved into pedals a few years back. Pedals, obviously stupid. Volume pedals. We brought out a regular analog kind of pedal, which people seem to like. It does suck a tiny bit of tone, but it's probably, again, we're told, the best pedal out there in terms of tone suck as an analog pedal. But we rectified the potential for tone suck completely by bringing out the VM Pro, which is it actually has 2 audio quality file buffers in it, and that doesn't suck any tone whatsoever. And we even have clever switching inside that allows you to use it with fuzz pedals, so that you can do swells and fuzzes. Normally the fuzz pedal has to be the first in the chain, but with ours you can trick it into thinking it still is. Another switch that allows it, called the sparkle switch. It gradually puts in treble or top end as you go towards heel down, so you maintain the detail of the playing. That's pretty cool. You can do a minimum volume at heel down position, so you don't have to have it to go off. You can set it at whatever level you like, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of that's one worth checking out. We then brought out a wah pedal that has 16 different wah sounds in it. We call it tongue-in-cheek re-wire because it rewires the actual guitar signal coming in. So we have this board inside that has all these different components that emulate the different wah pedals that are out there on the market. And so by selecting a little switch block inside the pedal, you can actually send the guitar signal, rewire through the components and make it sound very much different. You can add bass boost, you can make it sound more vintage, you can thin it out, you can make it sound more nasally. And the idea is, you find the wah sound that's best for your rig. Yeah.
It is, if you ever change your rig, if you ever change, some element of it, and now the wah doesn't sound quite right, fine, open it up, play around with the switches until you find the one that now works for your new rig. or if you simply get bored with the existing wah sound, hey, change it up. You haven't got to go buy another wah pedal.
Yeah. Now, one of the cool products that you have on your website, and I want to give a shout out to that because people can find out all about the company as well as all the products that you carry at missionengineering.com, and that's MISSIONENGINEERING.com, and you've got the Expresslinator. Hopefully, I pronounced that right.
Yeah, Expressionator, absolutely. So again, this was feedback from people saying how the real estate on their pedal boards becoming more and more precious. There's so many things they want to be able to put on there, but each to be able to lift it up and not have to get a crane to move it. So we went, okay, well, how can we help with that? So what the Expressionator does is you can basically, it's 3 inches probably by 1.5 inches by 3/4 of an inch, weighs next to nothing, it's a few ounces. It can control 3 effects, any kind of device that accepts, obviously, expression control by connecting just one expression pedal at the input stage. So now you can do things, very clever things like because you can set the sweeps on it. You can have reverse sweeps, you can have tapered sweeps, you can have sawtooths, and it remembers everything you set up on each of the 3 outputs when you turn it off. So I like to give the example of if you're using delay and reverb, the chances if you wanted to saturate your guitar signal with both of those at the same time, there must be some people that do it, but majority of the time you don't want to do that. So what you can do is, say, put the delay in reverse sweep so that as you push forward on the toe pedal, on the controlling expression pedal, it basically pushes more signal towards reverb and backs off the delay, or vice versa. So that's pretty cool, and it's got lots of different color LEDs on it that represent each of the 3 channels, so you can visually see on stage, even on a dark stage, which of the channels you're controlling, and you can control in any combination, because you control A, B, and C individually, A and B, B and C, A, B, and C. So you can literally mix and match what you want to control from just one expression pedal. So it reduces the amount of real estate it takes up on the board. And it reduces weight, of course, instead of having to have what would have been before the Expressionator 3 separate expression pedals. Now you just need one in a very small Expressionator box.
And I think that's kind of, one of the things that I think, again, that I've been impressed by your company is that you really try to provide a solution for any scenario so that you're not alienating anybody or any part of the market. So I think that's kind of cool. We got about 10 minutes left in this show, and it's just going by too fast, man. And I wanted to kind of get your take on the industry. I want to find out, you started off, a few years back, 7 years, you said, I believe. And, how have you seen some of the differences, and what are some of the things that you think has really been a good progress, and what are some of the things that may be challenges for right now or for the future?
Well, obviously this is subjective. It's just my view on it. But I personally feel in the years I've been doing this now, it's actually quite refreshing to see how open most of the manufacturers are. I say most, I'm not start naming names, to work with other companies. Maybe because we don't threaten anyone, we're not trying to compete. Our products very much improve the creative potential to the end guitarist using our pedal with whatever the other thing is connected to. So I guess, we're not pushing against or getting resistance from people saying, hey, well, you're trying to steal a part of the market that we're already trying to sell into. But our experience is, most of the manufacturers we've had the pleasure of working with and talking to also want to bring out, a good product that will benefit the lives of guitarists, so that's good. There's certainly a lot of optimism I've seen literally year on year. So since I've been going to now, say 7 years now, first year I was there, it was very doom and gloom. It was kind of like, oh man, it's, everything's going backwards. I'm not sure how we're going to make this work. And of course, that's when I was just getting into it. So it wasn't the best of starts, but I'm not the kind of person to be put off by what people think or are saying. It's kind of like, well, let me find out for myself. So completely ignored that. But year on year, I have honestly seen more and more optimistic look to the future from MI generally. Mm-hmm. And I think, innovation is starting to be shown across, lots of manufacturers are now starting to build in innovation and think outside the box and come up with creative tools to make music interesting, right? Because, there's still a huge market. Of course there is for tube amps and just regular music as we knew it growing up. But, to be able to add some of these cool effects and things that are now out there and make your sound your own, I think there's a huge plus. I'm more of a keyboard player. I have a studio which I brought over from the UK. I love to play around with effects and reverse things and, to try and get something that's a bit more unique, a bit more interesting to listen to. Yeah. And I think the way the industry's going, I think, that more and more companies are now bringing out products that don't just do one thing. I mean, the Helix is a classic example. I mean, that thing is, has so much connectivity to it. You can control anything and everything you want from just one box. And, of course, it sounds great, what it does. So with those kind of progress being made and the innovation being built in by other manufacturers, I actually think the music industry and the ability to be creative as a songwriter or as an artist has got a very bright future. I think we're just at the start of it. I mean, I would say it's probably only been the last 18 months to 2 years that these modelers, etc., have got good enough that you could actually go, do you know what? It might not still quite have the warmth of a particular tube amp, but it's so darn close that I can live with it. And of course, it has all the advantages, right? You don't have the problem with humidity and the amp changing sound because of the venue and how it's been transported and treated and goodness knows what else. So yeah. I actually see the way the industry is going at the moment and the tools that are being developed and brought to market as a very exciting time for those people that want to do new music. Obviously, if you're into your playing covers and things like that, then actually the modelers do a pretty good job of that too. But certainly the marketplace that we're in, we're very excited about it because we see the products that we make and design here, supporting those new products that are coming out. So we see ourselves as a partner with these companies, and the opportunities are increasing, not decreasing for us.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And kind of segueing with that, how do you see the distribution channels looking in the retail outlets, as we see a lot of the smaller stores kind of going away, and a lot of them are getting engulfed into some of the the bigger ones. Fortunately, kind of again, shout out with Pitbull. They're kind of a combination of both. They have a local showroom here in San Diego, but they do a lot of their work internationally. They sell quite a bit. In fact, to give them props, they're probably one of the biggest sellers of pedals, if not the biggest seller of pedals, and the biggest collection of SKUs. And what SKUs are basically, folks, are all the different products they offer. It's huge. And I think, how do you see the retail landscape going?
Oh, I've definitely, sadly, seen that over the last 4.5 years since I moved to the US. We've had a number of smaller resellers have to shut shop, which is always a sad thing to see. We try to support them. We don't use distributors, mainly because the model wouldn't work for us, because we build here in California and the costs of staff and taxes and goodness knows what else are so high. You'd be quite surprised actually how low the profit margin are on our products. So we can't go through distribution, because by the time those guys take their cut and then the resellers obviously want their cut, there's just nothing left for us at all. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. So that actually has a positive, I think, supportive mechanism for those smaller stores, in that they're competing on a level playing field with us. People can't afford to play games on pricing because the margin just simply isn't there. You get a quality product, it'll last you years, but don't expect a bargain, because it's just not possible because of the quality that we build. The margins aren't there, so it means that they can compete with the bigger stores that buy in bigger numbers and do better deals and can offer those discounts, put them out of business. So it's not something by design. It's just purely a circumstance of the way we build and the cost of building here, but it does actually support those smaller stores. And we love dealing with them. Don't get me wrong, we're very very lucky and fortunate and blessed to be working with all the obvious big stores, and they do big numbers, and that helps us grow and keeps us in business because we have mortgages to pay and mouths to feed like everyone else. But my heart, if I'm honest, is with the smaller guys. I thank more to them, and you mentioned Pitbull, I know, so that's something kind of in between. But we like stores. If you look at our list on our website of the people we deal with, every one of those have been hand chosen based on what customers say about them and, how good they are with their customers in terms of giving good advice and being passionate about the stuff they sell, not just selling it for the sake of selling it. So, we could have had a lot more resellers than we currently do, but we don't want just any old reseller. We want people that understand what we're trying to do here at Mission and that care about their customers. Now, we can judge that based on what we see and what we find out when we talk to them initially, but I'm pretty confident that the people that we deal with are passionate about, as you say, Pitbull, definitely, about their customers and giving the right advice and keeping people, happy from day one.
Yeah. And I think that's all an important way to look at it. Just having people that really know what your product is and how to introduce it to customers is huge. And like I said, Eric has got our show Sharpen the Axe, and he's one of the experts on pedals. He's just a huge fan of those. We got about a minute left. What are some of the thoughts that you would like to share with people as we kind of come to a close? And again, before we go, I want to give a shout out to your URL, missionengineering.com. You guys can go there, and you can actually buy the product there as well. So, that's very cool that you offer that. So
yeah, absolutely. The reason we do that, and this might even use up the last 60 seconds, is we do carry so many pedals. There's no way our resellers can carry them all. So quite often people, if they want slightly unusual color or a feature that's not available through their favorite store, they tend to be the people that come direct. But thoughts, I guess, going right back to the first question you asked me about how did I get into the industry and music and my passion for music. Change. I'm a huge supporter of change. I don't like, my favourite food was strawberries. I couldn't imagine eating strawberries every day of my life. I like variety. I like change, which is why I like compilation albums and things like that. So I've come back to this point. I think it's exciting times with all these different modelers and devices coming out there, the ability to be creative and create new music and interesting sounds. I think that's the way to go and to stand out. If you do something, design our pedals to be different from other people's. Same with the music. If you can do something slightly different, there's formulas in songs.
Hey, Paul, I hate to interrupt you, man. I turned the music down on you so you wouldn't get cut out. But this has been the Changing Stage Radio Show. Make sure you tune in for
Best Brand Wins. You every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?